The GWM Tank 500 just got a 5-star Ancap safety rating. Walk me through it.
The Tank 500 is a new model. It's been through our series of crash tests, the full-scale crash tests and crash avoidance tests. In order to get the 5-star rating, it has reached a level of performance against each of the pillars that we assess against. The first being adult occupant protection, then child occupant protection, where this vehicle has done very well. It actually has the highest score that we've published for child occupant protection. There's also vulnerable road user protection, where we assess both the impacts with pedestrians and cyclists, and also the avoidance of impacts with cyclists, motorcyclists and pedestrians. And then the last pillar is safety assistance, which is really about both avoiding getting into a crash situation and crash avoidance. So this vehicle's reached the 5-star threshold against all of those pillars and scores pretty well against all of them.
You said it did very well in our COP. What did it do different?
So there's a couple of things that are assessed in child occupant protection. The first and starting point of that is good performance in the crash test. So we have 2 child dummies in the back seat in both the MPDB frontal test and also in the mobile deformable barrier side impact test, and that really tests how well the vehicle is protecting the back seat and how well the restraints are working in the back seat. And so it has achieved full scores in that test. We have quite a few cars do score well in that area, and this is one of them. On top of that, then it also was able to accommodate our standard range of child restraints in the second row, and it's worth noting that it only has anchorages for child restraints in the second row. So if people are thinking this is a 3-row car, but if they're planning on putting children in the third row for children under 7, then it's not possible to put the child restraints in the third row, so they'd need to put the smaller children in the second row of the car. We assess the safety features that are fitted to the vehicle for child protection, and this vehicle scored well against those. And the headline item there would be it's the first vehicle that we've assessed that has a direct child presence detection system that is able to actually monitor the inside of the vehicle and detect if there's life, and particularly a child in the vehicle when the vehicle is parked and left. So that's particularly looking at avoiding the situation where children may be left in a car. That can be a very dangerous situation, particularly in hot weather like we have in Australia. As part of our assessment, we assess what we call vehicle compatibility, which is how well the vehicle interacts with other vehicles. This is a large vehicle and is reasonably heavy, and therefore protection of a vehicle that crashes into this vehicle is an important consideration. And this is probably the area where this car hasn't done as well as we'd like to see. So we have what we call a modifier that's applied when there's a high load placed on the other vehicle, and in this case that maximum modifier has applied, which is reasonably expected in heavy vehicles, though we have seen some other vehicles recently that have done better in that area. So it is an area which GWM could improve upon, is putting in some features to look at partner protection in crashes.
So how did the GWM Tank 500 do with adult occupant protection?
For adult occupant protection, where we're really looking at the protection of the occupants of the vehicle, the highlights are good results for the driver and passenger dummy in the MPDB, or mobile progressive deformable barrier test. The areas where there's some room for improvement would be in the rear of the full width test. That's really a test of the restraints of the vehicle, and there's some room for improvement for the rear seat there. And also for the driver in the oblique pole test, there was some load on the chest in that from the intruding pole. So the result is still quite good, but there is some room for improvement. Like many of the new cars that we have seen, this vehicle has a centre airbag that's there to prevent excursion of the occupant to the other side of the car and avoid impacts with the other side of the vehicle and side impacts. And that centre airbag is also able to, in most cases, is able to prevent contact between the occupants. So we've assessed that and assessed that firstly it provides good protection against excursion across the vehicle, but also in our pole crash test we have 2 dummies, and the airbag has been able to prevent collision between those 2 dummies and any contact between them. We recognise that in striving to get 5 stars, there's a lot of work that goes into these vehicles, and this is a case where we can see that there are features that the manufacturer has included in the vehicle that it's very likely that they wouldn't be there without this process. So we really do appreciate the efforts they put in to put in things like, in this case, direct child presence detection. We've got the far side or centre airbag, and also an advanced ADAS system that has good performance in avoiding crashes. So it's these things don't happen by accident, and it's a step that the manufacturer has taken to make sure that they're delivering up-to-date safety features in vehicles like this.